Hi, they call me Pi, and when I started designing my first game, Your Class Rep, I had a pretty serious decision to make. Should I make my lead character black? I mean, I'm black, so you'd think it'd be an easy answer, but hey, why make the decision simple when you can overcomplicate it instead? That way we get to worry about questions like this. Will the black character alienate my target audience? As a black man, am I responsible for adding black representation into gaming and media? And this is the important one. What happens if I'm wrong? I think those questions sufficiently complicate things. Oh, and if you didn't realize it, I'm releasing this video on Martin Luther King Day. So yeah, hopefully I make the right choice. All right, let's get into it. A lot of cartoons I grew up with featured the super interesting and engaging black characters. Many were featured in ensemble casts, like Number 5 from Codename Kids Next Door, Kwame from Captain Planet, Cyborg from Teen Titans. There are only a handful of characters like Static Shock or Fillmore or the characters in Proud Family, and don't judge me on Proud Family, it was a good show, that were standouts that had the series named after the leads. The 3 latter series I talked about, they were all released around the same time and canceled around the same time in the early 2000s. But yeah, some were canceled at the peaks of viewership and attention. There's always been some debate around why they were canceled, and maybe that'd be best to elaborate on in another video. There are tons of videos out on YouTube where that you can kind of explore that answer. But the common thread I saw were toy companies just didn't believe people would buy toys featuring black characters. And I think that belief has shaped an entire generation of media. Outside of Falcon, aka Captain America, that's where Captain America came from, and Black Panther, still to this day you'd be hard pressed to walk down a toy aisle and see a black action hero represented. Maybe 1 in 4 of the dolls on the shelves will be a black doll for the girls. The same thing with video games. I can't really think of any major titles outside of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, that's back in the NES era, and GTA that heavily feature black leads that really got up to the upper echelons of the market. So it left a question kind of sitting in the back of my mind. Were these toy companies right about the market, or were they wrong in a way that just became self-fulfilling? I don't know the answer. I'm asking you guys. I tried to do some research into the profitability piece, and frankly, the data it's not there. With 70% of toys being white or white coded, I hate that word coded, but white coded, you'd think it would be as easy as, well, black characters sell X% less than white character toys, but things like marketing investment, shelf placement, network/TV tie-ins, toy line scale, all that stuff matters, and it isn't data that's being shared or being tracked very well. And without that data, all I can do is speculate. Now, me personally, I think representation matters, but, and this is a big but, I'm a little uncomfortable with what often ends up feeling like performative representation. When representation exists only to virtue signal or to hit a quota, it can push the character into a place where instead of inviting a new demographic in, it creates distance from the target audience. In the end of the 2010s and the first half of the 2020s, we saw a lot of what felt like quota characters. Here, I'm going to show you this meme of redheads turning into black characters in the reboot series. It always makes you laugh. I think it's pretty funny. I believe the intentions here were good, but these kind of quota characters, that's what I call them, often feel like they were initially written as white or neutral characters, and then some higher up the chain, or maybe a collective of people at the bottom, pushed to add diversity and just happened to land on this character to switch out. I mean, we literally see that play out in the meme I just showed. And I think what happens is these characters are missing something that's really hard to pin down, because a lot of creatives confuse stereotypes with culture. I don't mean to imply that all representation is bad. I'll explain what I mean about that in a second, but first here, let me show you this. I'm kind of a numbers guy. Black people make up about 12 to 13% of the US population. In animated and children's media, we only see about 7 to 8% of black characters. We also see about 6% of creative projects where writers, producers, or directors are black. You have to admit, regardless of where you kind of land, the data doesn't lie. That's a pretty significant gap. Humans have a habit of forming bonds with people that look like them or share their culture. And when we can't find a home in those groups, we will emulate other groups and their culture to try and fit in there. When people, especially kids, don't see themselves represented in their heroes on TV or on YouTube and games, I think it absolutely makes those projects harder to attach to. So instead, black kids often find themselves connected to sports media or oftentimes the much more adult-oriented influencers in, say, music, areas where black people are overrepresented, at least according to, population data. And I'd argue the latter is not ideal for developing children. So does that mean I have a responsibility to create black lead characters? I think it's complicated, but the answer I have to land on is no. But I'm curious to hear if you guys disagree. Maybe it'll change my mind. I have the responsibility as a parent to embody that hero for my own children, personally. But ultimately, I think my responsibility as a creator is to create well-written characters that are going to feel human enough that anyone will feel that connection to, regardless of that character's race. So if I see negative financial outcomes and I don't think it's my responsibility, why start my first project off with a black lead? That's a great question. At first, I caught myself worrying about broad appeal. I wanted to make a game that reached as many people as possible. The more I chased that idea, the more I felt like I was flattening out the work. But fortunately, I'm not here doing a reboot, so I don't have to jump through hurdles of swapping the race of a character millions of people already love. No, I think Michael was the best lead I could make for this story. On the outside, he's a black kid that's tall, slender, he's a big afro. Some people assume he's me, like some type of self-insert or something, but he's definitely not that. Actually, Michael is heavily inspired by a close friend of mine from college, Verge. Maybe he'll watch this and be all shocked. And this character goes way back, like literally 10 years. You can see him on this YouTube channel if you look hard enough. And that was way before I had a fro. This goes back to the Mega Match Mix days, where Michael was a popular high school student and a fighting game commentator and played fighting games. But all that's a story for another time. In Your Class Rep, Michael is a high energy, likable, patient, kind. He's boisterous without being annoying. He's that type of guy. He's a hard worker and he's willing to help others by investing in them. Even though at times he can overlook important details and that can get him into hot water, those are the traits that really embody Michael. And those extroverted traits, they're the complete opposite of me. Some people call me kind and patient and stuff, but high energy, I think that's quite a stretch. The character exists because this world I'm building needed a glue to hold a diverse cast of characters together, and someone you'd want to root for instead of just a boring politician like I was initially crafting. Michael is a character that only works the way he does because he's a black kid. There are things he can do that would just feel alien coming from another race, and I thought that was important to keep. There's some other little tidbits I added in, things you might not notice just by looking, but this kid isn't rich. You can tell because he wears a sports jacket that's a little bit too big and his pants are just a little bit too small. And it seems like these, I hope I can maybe dive into deeper if the card game does well. Maybe I can spin this off into something larger. This is a key part of the best version of the story that I can tell. And I'll trust that people will connect with this character's energy, his kindness, and even how he skims by and overlooks the details, whether or not they look like him. Even if the old market assumptions are completely right, my goal here is to create dope characters for dope people. And I think I hit my mark with this guy. So what if I'm wrong? Well, if the game falls apart at the finish line and it wasn't worth the year and change of time I've invested, well, I don't think I'll automatically go to no more black people. I think that's crazy. You have to take each failure as a lesson and really study what happened and why those things happened. I definitely want to try and learn as much as I can about the consumers I'm building projects for and why they didn't choose my game over the gazillions of other products out there. I don't want to make the same assumptions that the toy companies seem to make with Static Shock and some of the other shows from my childhood. I dig into the product. Maybe that isn't good. Maybe the product at its core isn't good. Maybe it's the packaging that's wrong. Maybe half of y'all were right and I do need to do this game in color. There's so many different factors that decide how products land in the market, and I would genuinely love to hear what you guys think. And do you think I'm making the right call? Ultimately, I think time will tell. The market will show us. But hey, I've got more work to do. Do the normal YouTube stuff, guys. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, comment. We have a Discord where I share progress of my work pretty regularly. A great community there. We all push each other to grow and do better. The link for that should be in the description. As always, guys, God bless. Be safe. I'll see you next time.